Good day, Saints. Good to be back with you. In our previous clip, we actually looked at Dr. Shuaib Sayyed's accusations against Christianity that says that Christianity is simply a form of paganism, and we looked at that simply could not be so. We also showed that there is no literary dependence, and we can see that there is rather a dependence from the pagan sources to the Christian sources, not the other way around. Well, his accusations obviously was hurled against an individual that he debated, Narendra Sahu, and obviously Mr. Sahu obviously does not need me to defend him, but I thought I would make a few video clips and I will just show quite clearly the accusations of Dr. Sayyed. We had a conversation and I said I'll be courteous and very short in addressing some of his objections and also some of his accusations. So today we're going to look at the logic of Parallelomania, and we will look again at it from two sources. I've got no shame in revealing these sources. If you don't have them, get them to your library. The book by Ron Nash, The Gospel and the Greeks, the New Testament borrowed from pagan thought. Absolute excellent book. Get it, read it. The other book is obviously something that we will look at today as well, by three esteemed scholars and individuals that really have put a lot of good work and good things into a lot of good books. In chapter 16 they speak of Parallelomania, Reinventing Jesus by our contemporary skeptics, Miss the Real Jesus and Misleading Popular Culture, by Dr. Komaszewski, and also by Dr. Sawyer and obviously Dr. Daniel B. Wallace. Well, I don't know if Dr. Komaszewski is a doctor, but maybe he is. I don't know. Okay, but here's the thing though. I'm gonna today have a literary dependence on this book. Okay, so nothing I say is new. You can find it obviously from this book as well, and even the quotes that I quote, hopefully I will be honest enough and I say this, I take it directly from the book. So I just want to say that this is taken from these authors. When we deal with some of these apparent similarities and allegories, we can see exactly that. We can see that they are only similarities, they are not exact parallels. I looked at the previous clip and I showed that the very assumption of dying and rising gods have actually been called into question by quite serious scholars we looked at as well. The very assumption of dying and rising gods have been called into question by most serious and contemporary scholars, and we can see quite clearly that these supposed myths, when they are analyzed, there is very little relation between the story of Christ and them. Even if we grant certain parallels exist between the story of Christ and the supposed pagan myths, we can see that it does not prove the life, death and resurrection of Jesus Christ was not historical. And again, I just say for preface that there is no absolute evidence in any way or form where it proves any line of influence from these pagan stories and how it influenced the early Christian church. And we mentioned in the previous clip that we can see quite clearly that the Jewish Christians were absolutely monotheistic, and they rejected the pagan notion of the plurality of these Roman gods and simply all of their myths. And so when we sum up some of these supposed fallacies regarding the pagan myths, we can see that they do not measure up with the historicity of Jesus Christ. Dr. Sawyer and also Dr. Wallace and Dr. Komaszewski obviously mentions quite a few fallacies, and I want to go through these fallacies point by point and show you exactly what it means when we denounce these. The first one they are speaking of is the Composite Fallacy. They say that usually when we look at the pagan religions, we can see quite clearly that a lot of these supposed religions is deemed to be identical. This is simply not true. When we look at the collective features of these religious groups amongst the pagan myths, and also that is used by the pagan myth theorists, we can see that they are very diverse and they have nothing in sequential order to contribute to the direct claims of Christianity. A secular scholar, they observe Albert Schweitzer, and he says the following. He says almost all the popular writings fall into this kind of inaccuracy. They manufacture out of the various fragments of information a kind of universal mystery religion which never actually existed, least of all in Paul's day. So here a skeptic scholar, Albert Schweitzer, says clearly, hogwash, not real, not in any way or form related, and I think we should believe that. Another scholar by the name of Gunther Wagner says the following as well. He says the mystery religions par excellence has never existed, and quite certainly did not in the first century Anno Domini. What they are simply claiming is that when we look at accusations that are hurled by individuals like Dr. Sayyed, we can see that there is definitely no ground in any way form to pervert or even to say that Christianity is constituted from these various premises. fallacies. Bruce Metzger, he says that the very time of these particular mystery cults all had very different overall context and religious intentions. That is key. That's something we really need to look at. Robert Nash therefore affirms, we find that there was no pre-Christian doctrine of rebirth for Christians to borrow. The second one that they mention is called the Terminology Fallacy. And I've mentioned this in the previous clip, but I thought I'll do it again, and I'll repeat this because they laid it out so beautifully, and I thought this will make a wonderful clip. And obviously they speak about the fact that similarities in allegory are exactly just that. They are only similarities, not exact parallels. They quote Robert Nash, and he says the following: one frequently encounters scholars who first use Christian terminology to describe pagan beliefs and practices and then marvel at the awesome parallels they think they have discovered. Well, Bruce Metzger affirms it as well. He says, it goes without saying that alleged parallels which are discovered by pushing such methodologies evaporate when they are confronted with the original text. In a word, one must beware of what is being called parallels to make a selective description. So again, when we reflect and we say that, well, Christianity borrowed from these pagan religions and they actually just deduced their arguments from their terms, it is in actual fact the other way around. Point number 3, another fallacy that is mentioned by the authors is what is called the Dependency Fallacy. They say this happens when the interpreters believe that Christianity borrowed not only from but also in substance of the mystery religions and turned this into a new form of religion. They say this is absolutely just simply not true. There is no instance where Christian religions or Christianity borrowed from these supposed religions. Adolf Harnack, and this Adolf Harnack was a premium liberal scholar of history, and he says the following, and especially when he refers to this instance, please note what he said. He said, we must reject the corporative mythology which finds a causal connection between everything and everything else. By such methods, one can turn Christ into a sun god in the twinkling of an eye, doctor said, or one can bring up the legends attending the birth of every conceivable god, or one can catch all sorts of mythological doves to keep company with the baptismal dove. The wand of comparative religions triumphantly eliminates every spontaneous trait in every religion. I agree. And this is exactly what we see, and proponents like Dr. Sayyed does. He simply takes a concept, he simply takes a word, he simply takes a picture, and he says this must be a deduction that is evident in all of these mystery religions and Christianity, and there is therefore this direct parallel. But this is simply not true. Now, I just want to ask something. What if we do this to Islam? Now, again, this is in no point or form to describe or even to discuss Islam, but this is definitely something that we should consider. Here's another way in which these accusations miss and fallaciously claim that Christianity was succinct with pagan myths. It's called the Chronology Fallacy. In the Chronology Fallacy, simply what is deduced is that when we look at the first Christian community, we can see predominantly that these Palestinian Jews, they relied and tried to syncretize what is known in the pagan myths. But when we look at the Jewish mindset of the time, they absolutely abhorred and loathed any form of syncretism. Norman Anderson asserted, if borrowing there was by one religion from another, it seems clear which way it went. There's no evidence whatsoever that I know of that the mystery religions had any influence in Palestine in the early decades of the 1st century. So there is obviously, from a Christian perspective, an absolute purity and an absolute exclusivity extended to the person of Jesus Christ and his work. The Jews, and especially the Christian Jews, refuse to blend their beliefs and their religion with Roman beliefs and origins, and we can see that's one of the reasons why they were persecuted. They were absolutely saying that they were distinct, and in no way or form would they offer anything to any other Lord but the Lord Jesus Christ. There is no archaeological evidence today that associate or relates the mystery religions in Palestine in the 1st century. This is very important. Here's another fallacy, the intentional fallacy. The intentional fallacy is when one examines the purpose and nature of any nature of the mystery religions versus the purpose and nature of Christianity. When we do so, we see huge differences that emerge. One difference is that Christianity has a linear view of history, where the mystery cults had a cyclical view of history. Secondly, we can see that Christianity proclaimed and offered a genuine purpose in life, where the mystery religions looked at life as a circular movement leading to nowhere, purposeless and empty. In the end, we can see quite clearly that the very outcomes that these mystery religions tried to accomplish, all of them had certain outcomes which were not succinct with one another, but especially if we measure all of them with Christianity, in the end there is definitely no internal or intentional symmetry that is found amongst them. In conclusion, Bruce Metzger is quoted in this book and they beautifully said that he does not mince his words assessing Christianity and these claims of Parallelomania, and he examines and he speaks again from August Lobeck's examination of the supposed parallels, where he revealed the actual nature of these mystery religions. And Metzger says the following. He says, a great deal of rubbish and pseudo learning was swept aside, and it became possible to discuss intelligently the rites and teachings of the mysteries. In other words, they were laid bare, they were scrutinized, they were seen for what they could produce in all of their effects, and nowhere are they close to the actual writings of the New Testament, neither are they relating, or the Christian texts relating to these pagan myths as a primary source in and of themselves. Again, I hope this was helpful for you. Quickly wanted to sum this up. I wanted to repeat this. I wanted to make sure that you can see all of these different fallacies in and of themselves. When we speak about these fallacies, we can see quite clearly that there is no ground to relate them to Christianity, and especially to the first Christian community. If you like this video, please click a like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Also, something that you can do is please go to our website called www.adlucem.co, and you are welcome to support us through our Patreon account every month with whatever gift God has laid on your heart. Okay, and I would also like to hear from you. Be sure to comment and let me know what you would like to see more of or less of, or drop a comment with your question so we can do a Q&A video. Be blessed, speak with you again, and have a lovely, lovely Sunday. Be blessed.